Are you ready for UFC 299 this weekend? Well, I got some exciting news for you UFC fans. I have teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook to bring you the ultimate fight night experience. Imagine this, you're a new customer to DraftKings, you place an initial wager, and if that bet doesn't hit, no sweat. You will get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet up to $1,000. Just download the DraftKings app. Make sure you sign up using my promo code Sonnen. The crown is yours. And DraftKings has got something for the existing customers as well. All customers get SGP insurance every day. Get a bonus bet back in the amount of your initial bet if one leg of your SGP loses. Minimum number of legs required and maximum bet varies. If sportsbook betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Download the DraftKings app right now. New customers, use my promo code Sonnen and get a no sweat bet. That's promo code Sonnen only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Dricus Du Plessi. Now, I gotta tell you guys, I got invited by Patrick Bet-David to do his podcast. So I'm over here now. I'm waiting for Patrick. This place is beautiful. I'm sitting, I got my own couch in here, got a cup of coffee, there's a Coke if I want one. I mean, this is like the real treatment. And Patrick Bet-David, he didn't tell me what he wants to talk about. And he's a business guy, very smart guy. But along the way, he came over to our sport. He became a big fight fan. Sean O'Malley was in here 2 days ago, just by example. Now, when I'm sitting over here, I'm trying to get boned up, right? I got to know the latest. If there's anything breaking in MMA, this is what he's going to ask me. I got to make sure he doesn't break something to me. I got to be the one that tells him. If we're talking MMA, brought in as the expert. So I'm going through the .coms. And I came across a revision of an article that came out 3 days ago. And I saw it when it came out, and I did nothing with it. I stored it away. But I resaw it this morning, and I have thoughts on it. It was from Dricus Du Plessi. Now, I must tell you, there is nothing about Dricus at this point that I can critique. If I was to find a critique, if he called me up and asked me, Chael, I value your opinion. Will you watch my fight? Let me know what you think. I would not be able to fulfill it. There was a time, 1997, might have even been 1998. I believe it was the end of 97. There was a young man they called the Phenom. His name was Vitor Gracie. Later to be known as Vitor Belfort Gracie, and currently known as Vitor Belfort. But he had fought a couple of times in the UFC, and there was an announcer, rest his soul, Jeff Blatnick. And it was Jeff Blatnick's job to tell you strengths and weaknesses. And mixed martial arts as a whole was not refined back then. It was still a matter of striker versus grappler. Or two grapplers against each other, but it's different arts like wrestling versus judo. So to identify somebody's strengths and somebody's weaknesses was a lot easier to do. And Jeff Blatnick did it for absolutely every athlete until Vitor came up. And he put down on the screen and said it to the world, no known weaknesses. And it was completely true. Like we had heard about Vitor's grappling. And that is reminiscent of the fact that he was representing the Gracie name. He was fighting under the name Vitor Gracie. But he knocked everybody out. He knocked them out viciously up until this point. He'd only had like 2 or 3 fights, but they were violent. I mean, when Vitor splashed onto the scene, it was like nothing we had seen. So it puts down no known weaknesses. And I just bring that up because that's the praise that I would give Dricus Du Plessi. I don't know of his weaknesses. He has done such a good job, and there's multiple things that have to be done at the same time if you want to be the champion of the world. And you will put your focus into only one. which is the skills, the ins and outs, the X's and O's. You will then cross your fingers for a little bit of luck. You will attempt to align yourself with the right managers. You will attempt to make the right friends in the media. Like, there's things that you have to do to get your name, to get the mandate of the masses, to get the title shot. I'm just sharing that with you because few have done that better than Dricus Du Plessi. In fact, I would put, there's only 3 guys that could even be in the conversation. Bilal Muhammad, Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessi. And I feel as though the great part of the Dricus story is the part right in front of everybody, but you're missing it, which is the part that I'm speaking of, getting the mandate, getting the ability, getting the press conferences, becoming the guy, working your way up a card. December 10th, right off the top of my head, you can't get this analysis anywhere. You ever sit back and just thank yourself that you have access to my mind? Do you ever do that? You ever thank yourself for subscribing to this channel? You can't get this anywhere. December 10th, 2022. Card coming up at T-Mobile. Dricus is on the card. And he is an undercard. And he's fought in the UFC a number of times. And he's got a hard fight. I think he was fighting Darren Till. It's a hard fight. It's an undercard. Now, in that same weight class of 185 pounds, there's a gentleman who's going to make his debut named Bo Nickel. And Dricus is looking at going, hey, wait a minute. I've been here and done that. This guy's brand new, and this guy's getting television time while I'm on the undercard. And Dricus did not like it, and he starts complaining. Now, Dricus had like 240 Twitter followers. He's complaining to nobody. But he's complaining. And Bo Nickel came off the card, and sure enough, the squeaky wheel got the grease, and Dricus moves up. The relevance of that entire story is the date. December 10th of 2022, Dricus Du Plessi was an undercard fighter. Dricus Du Plessi, as of right now, was asked and invited to headline 300, which in theory is the greatest and biggest mixed martial arts event of all time. An undercard guy who's only had 2 televised fights since he was undercard. I should change that, right? Because he had the Till fight. So then he fights Whitaker, then he fights for the belt. Is invited to be in the starring role, biggest show ever. It's a very important lesson. And guys don't hold that belt very often. They don't hold it very long, very often. Something changes them. And I must tell you, I've only observed it. I never got to be champion. So I was always hungry. So I can't completely relate to the guy that's been fed. And I will repeat what I said a moment ago, that I'm just not going to critique Dricus right now. I'm so impressed with him. But the Dricus story is not of a South African Greco-Roman wrestler who mastered kickboxing. That's not the story. The A to Z on Du Plessis is an undercard fighter from less than 2 years ago, was now asked to be the final walk of the biggest show of all time. The in-between is where you learn everything you need to know about Dricus. And he spoke about why he didn't accept that. It was a very simple answer. He just said, I'm the champion. I'm hurt. Right? All right, I don't feel great when it was time to go into training camp, but I'm not going to do something hurt. Why would I do that? I'm the champion. This is all he said. It was very simple. But from an outsider watching him and observing him, I don't feel that that's the same answer he would have given on December 10th of 2022. I don't think it's the same answer. I think somewhere the guy that was hungry got fed, and that's a slippery slope. Like, there's not something you can do. There's just things that happen when you achieve a goal. Don't know that it'll affect him. It's just something I'm watching. It's a point that I'm observing. And I really don't think if we went back to 2010 and we offered him a starring role for a world title that he would have said anything other than yes. Sometimes there's being smart. Sometimes there's being risky. Like sometimes these changes that we sit back and observe turn out to be for the best. It's far too early to assume that that isn't the case here. But I'm bringing it to your attention, and in all fairness, as time goes on, I'll be watching.